You're listening to the Silver Stoner Show.
Yo, dudes, dudettes, trans dudes, and trans dudettes. It is I, Uncle Herb, the Silver Stoner. Welcome to another episode of our little webcast. Joining me today, and I'm going to try to get this right, is Bethany. I'm not going to use her last name because, this is a public forum and people stalk pretty girls and you know how that goes. So I'm not going to say. But Bethany is auditioning today, and I'm feeling very positive to be, a sidekick to balance off my boomer energy, basically. That's what it really comes right down to. So anyway, welcome, Bethany.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, now, stand by. By the way, I have fucked up Bethany's name now 6 times. I called her Brittany until about 2 minutes ago, so, what can I tell you?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, well, what do you mean, oh, my God?
It starts like that?
Always like that. I'm just getting it out. I'm just getting it out and open. Okay, don't, please. Give me a little room to run this one, Tech Master.
Okay.
Thank you very much. All right. Before we get into the Silver Stoner News, we'll put up the 5 tenets. Remember, folks, to be a stoner, what it really boils down to is to, like 999 times out of 1,000, don't do a fucking thing. You don't have to respond to every stimulus. You don't have to answer every argument. Everything is not an existential threat. You own your body. You can do with it what you want, even if it's stupid. Don't tell other people what to do. You control only your own thoughts and emotions and live a long and happy life. That's what this is all about, and to have a community and a place to talk about it. So, let's get started. Okay, Silver Stoner News today. It's kind of a light news day, but which is good because I want to talk to Bethany more than I want to shoot the shit about the news. But here's the first story I'm going to share with you. The Ninth Circuit, for those of you who aren't familiar how this works, and I'll just say this briefly, around the country there are circuit courts, which is where you go if you appeal, if you lose a case. That's what a circuit court is. And they're numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. I don't know how many there are. The Ninth Circuit is famous because it's a very progressive circuit court. It tends to be socially liberal. And again, we don't do politics here, but they tend to rule in favor of whatever your body is. You own your body, do what you want to do with it. They tend to be very progressive in that sense. And I hate using words like progressive because it gets people, all hooked into that political bullshit. But we, anyway. Good for them, though, because you may not have known this, but, when the Congress passes a law, those 435 people in the House and the other 100 people in the Senate don't actually know what the hell they just voted for. They pass these general tracts, and then they hand them off to the agencies that are tasked to put this stuff into play, and then the agency can add rules to the law that hold the force of law. In other words, an unelected official that you've never met and answers to nobody could put you in jail. This is true. And one of those laws, the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, who is our enemy as stoners, and always has been, has always classified marijuana, weed, as a Class 1 narcotic, which anyone who's ever smoked weed knows is unbelievably stupid because it's just plain not a narcotic. Somehow the facts don't matter to the DEA. And so for years they've been locking up people, for even experimenting, even scientifically experimenting with weed. In other words, if a lab wants to experiment with THC and see what the health benefits are, the only place they can, did you know this? The DEA is actually a weed dealer.
I didn't know that.
Because researchers must buy their weed from the DEA, who, by the way, seizes it, so they have no cost, and then grotesquely overcharges for it and restricts the research. So anyway, to make a long story short, the Ninth Circuit said, bullshit, everybody knows that weed is not a narcotic, and since it's legal in 31 states, at least medicinally, I think now it might be even 32 or 33, and everyone's using it, the Ninth Circuit is poised to rule. Hasn't ruled yet, but it's supposed to be ruling that the DEA is full of shit. My fingers are crossed. Good for the Ninth Circuit. Of course, the Supreme Court could overturn that, but in a pleasant surprise, it seems like the new Justice Kavanaugh and Comey Barrett seem to be libertarian. They're voting with the left-wingers a few times on these social issues, so this is a good thing. So I'm hoping that this gets through, and that's the end of the DEA fucking around with that, so good. All right. Let's move on to some happy news. This dog that you're seeing in the picture there was a bad car accident. The dog was thrown out the back, Ejected from the car. The family survived it. They were rear-ended. The dog was ejected out the window as a part of the rear-ending, and he was lost, and then was gone. And they searched the neighborhood for 2 weeks, and they looked everywhere they could look, and they couldn't find their dog, not even a body. 2 weeks later, they found him on a farm down the road herding sheep. The dog is an Australian Shepherd.
No shit.
True story, didn't know where it was, migrated down the road, found the farm. This particular farm had 3,000 head of sheep. 3,000. I don't really know anything about farming, but that sounds like a shitload of sheep. I don't know. Could be. And the dog went and this is in Idaho, State Highway 41. I'm not making this up. The dog went and they found him herding sheep. I'm not sure if I wouldn't have left him. Could he have been happier out there herding sheep?
He may have been in his happy place.
Decided to herd sheep on its own.
Well, dogs are like my dog, Pepper, who I have a weird, close, sick relationship with. I'm the first to admit. Is a Airedale Terrier. So they're bred in the Airedale Valley of England to hunt otters. Now, Pepper, it's amazing. I get in a swimming pool, the next thing I know, she's in next to me. I mean, it is instinctual, where other dogs would never get in, right? I mean, dogs, they got a lot of, anyway. If you don't like dogs, I don't like you. Do you like dogs?
I love dogs.
Okay, we're cool. You're not fired. Okay. Dog lover. Okay, this next one is oh, come on, dude, seriously. Again, I don't talk politics unless someone is really stupid, and this guy was really stupid. So this is a Republican representative, Louis Gohmert of Texas. I don't know anything about him. He might be an excellent congressman in every other way. I don't want to comment on yay or nay. If you're a constituent of his and have voted for him, I'm sure you're smart, but he did something that just reduced me to come on, dude, seriously. So, as we know, climate change is a incendiary issue politically, right? Personally, I think it's a serious problem, not a crisis, but whatever. Whatever you think. But I think it's real. But Representative Gohmert evidently doesn't think it's real, or sort of thinks it's real, but doesn't want to do anything to solve it. But he came up with this brilliant idea. If I hadn't double-checked this, I wouldn't have believed it. He asked in a congressional hearing yesterday if the United States Forest Service could alter, I almost can't say this, if they could alter the rotation of the moon around the Earth to solve climate change.
No.
If there was something, I swear to God,
Wait, check the facts.
No, I checked it. I checked it. By the way, this didn't come.
Dude wants to change.
Okay, I cite my source here was NBC News. This wasn't some weirdo. I didn't pull this off of some weird fringe lunatic conspiracy website, right? Or some anti-Republican hating thing or something like that. I pulled it off of NBC News. And I mean, I watched the tape. The guy literally, word for word, asked the United States Forest Service if a solution to climate change wouldn't be altering the rotation of the moon, and was there something they could do to affect that change? That's really what he asked. I swear. Come on.
And how does he plan?
Who knows?
For them?
He's 145,000 years old, as far as I can tell. God only knows. I mean, I say things like I'm sure Reverend, I almost called him Reverend, Representative Gohmert was, I don't know where that Freudian slip came from. I think it's because so many, never mind, I'm not going there. I almost allowed myself to get a little more political than I should ever be, and I'm not going to go there. Just, come on, dude, seriously, and let's move on. I mean, climate change, personally, I think we're going to solve it through technology and time. That's just what I think, because the government fucks up everything it touches, left, right, or center, but we'll see. In the meantime, Representative Gohmert, please don't go fucking with the rotation of the moon. Other things could happen you haven't thought of yet, like, flooding this. It's just so absurd. The whole thing is it's like the flat earthers. Have you seen this on social media, the flat earthers?
Yes.
At first I thought they were kidding.
No.
They're not kidding.
No, they're not. It's pathetic.
I don't even know what to say to them. I see these posts, and I feel like I should troll the posts, and I should go on there and say, what's wrong with you? Mm-hmm. Or, like, have you ever noticed as you're walking towards the horizon it doesn't get any closer? Does that not clue you in that the Earth has a curve to it? But no.
It's just kind of like they don't want to accept information. It's like they're ignoring.
P.T. Barnum once said, you can never lose money underestimating the intelligence of the American people. I don't necessarily think, I'm not as condescending as that, but there are groups of people who believe bizarre. Do you know that a third, according to polls, I'm not making this up, a third of the American people believe we didn't land on the moon. We staged it in a soundstage in Hollywood, and the whole thing was a fake. A third of the American people believe that.
I actually know a bunch of people that believe that. I don't believe that.
Thank God.
We landed on the moon.
Yeah, we landed on the moon.
Yeah.
I'm not. We planted the flag. Yay, whoopee. And it was great. But how do you not believe it happened? It's like the whole world was watching.
It's like they're the same type of people that are really against the government, and they have all these conspiracies thinking that the government has all these conspiracies against
I think
us.
both sides are wrong. The people that love the government and the people that hate it. This is not a political comment. I don't believe in big conspiracies, and the reason I don't is no one can keep a secret. Okay? If you think about it,
True.
it's like the first big conspiracy I was ever aware of as a kid, and I'm a boomer, like bear with me, was the assassination of President Kennedy. I literally remember where I was. I was 5 years old when he was assassinated, mind you, and I can still remember where I was when I heard that the president had been shot. Okay, I know that's weird, but I do. And I remember that, and I don't have to remember it, there's still to this day people that think that Kennedy was killed by this huge conspiracy. But the reason I know that Kennedy was not killed by the huge conspiracy was because the statute of limitations on conspiracy ran out decades ago. And in the modern world, if you really knew about that conspiracy, you would have sold the book and made $1 billion on it anyway. No one could have kept that secret. With everybody involved, do you know who John Gotti was?
Yes.
He's dead now, but you know who he was, right?
Yeah.
He was one of the Godfather kind of guys.
Mm-hmm.
He got ratted out by one guy, Sammy the Bull Gravano, on pain of death. He couldn't shut up one guy. You're telling me that like these 9/11 conspiracies where the jets were firing missiles and the buildings were... Someone had to plant the bombs. Someone had to shoot the missiles. Someone had to load them. I'm ex-military. You got to put the missiles under the plane. When they land without the missiles, somebody's going to know. Mm-hmm. Okay, the air flight controllers. Washington D.C. airspace is the tightest airspace in the world. I mean, there's just no way. But I know PhDs who believe this bullshit.
Oh, wow. I just know a bunch of stoners that believe that.
Well, just because you're a stoner doesn't mean that you can disregard common sense. You know what I mean? It's like, use your head. But I do think, now, to be fair, I think the government does engage in unwitting conspiracies. Like, I think that there's a ruling class. I know there's a ruling class of people who spend their whole lives seeking power, Democrat and Republican, it doesn't matter. This is the most important thing to them. And they lord over us and tell us how to run our lives, and I find that offensive, personally. That's just me. I don't care what party they are. And I don't think it's a conspiracy per se, but I think they feed each other's, they buy into the same corporate, mainstream, military-industrial complex. Like, for example, the big debate today I read, or I saw the other, is getting involved. The president's over in Europe, and he's making all these promises. None of it's going to happen. It's all just bullshit.
Yeah.
People get all worked up about this stuff when, like the sun's going to rise tomorrow, right? And it's going to set after that. We just disregard, disengage. So, Bethany, what were we talking about that we dropped before that I really wanted to pick back? What was the subject I completely dropped off, that I was going to go into a cute story that I had, and I completely dropped it off, Techmastery? Bethany?
I don't remember.
Was it the one about your
Techmaster,
kids
kill the phone, goddammit.
and your kids, the Catholic school?
Oh, the Catholic school thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll be interesting to everybody. Where was I on that story? No, that wasn't. That wasn't the story that I dropped. I had a great. I fucking lost it. Who knows? And Techmastery over there is senile too, so we can't remember anything anyway. So you grew up in a family of how many kids?
10.
Jesus Christ. I grew up in an Irish Catholic neighborhood. Tell me this is true of your family. I'm not changing the subject. When I grew up, it was Irish Catholic. This is a suburb of Pittsburgh called Mount Lebanon. I was born in Miami Beach, but my mother divorced my father, remarried, blah, 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 yada, 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 stepfather, da-da-da, Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. Okay. Given the choice of living in Miami Beach or Pittsburgh, it's funny. Pittsburgh's the nicer city, but Miami Beach's got better weather. I don't know what to tell you. So anyway, everybody had, we were the sole Jewish family with 2 kids. Everybody else, the smallest, the Keyses across the street had 5. That was considered the smallest family in the neighborhood after us. And then there were the Foys, the McElhennys, the Coonies, the Wards, and there was 11 kids, 15 kids. Just all I remember from my childhood is 2 things. Whenever I would walk into their house, 2 smells would greet me every single time. The first is constantly cooking food on the stove. Okay, because they had so many. I'm just asking if you shared this. Because these moms, and this is the old days when dads went to work and moms stayed home. Okay, back in the 60s, somehow people made enough money that mom could stay home. Okay, it wasn't even. It was just the way it was. So, and there was always, but she had so many kids that she had to cook all day, and the kids it was kind of like a chow line. Would come through and help themselves. There was always goulash. I had a lot of goulash going over to my friends' houses. I mean, I don't know if it was really goulash. It was that macaroni, meat, tomato shit.
Yeah.
Is that really goulash? Is that real? I don't know.
I don't know.
But I ate a lot of that macaroni meat shit just visiting my friend's house. Or, spaghetti or macaroni and cheese, stuff like that. Chili, a lot of chili.
I was going to say spaghetti was one that you could get a lot of, serve a lot of.
Back east, by the way, they put chili on spaghetti.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's kind of a regional thing, and it actually is good if you ever want to try it.
I would not.
I know it sounds weird.
Try it.
It's I'd give it a shot. I have given it a shot, to be honest. Anyway, you ever tried spaghetti and eggs?
Yes.
With cheese? Did you mix the cheese in with it?
My mom used to make a noodle dish where she would put eggs and Parmesan on pasta with butter. It's really good. I still make it to this day.
That is delish. There's actually a diner in L.A. that I went with my son that makes that as their specialty. I forget the name of it, but it's where all the famous people. The last time I was there, I saw Jeff Goldblum, who, by the way, in person looks exactly as geeky as he does in the movies. And he's really tall.
Oh, really?
Really tall. I don't know. I didn't walk up to him and I didn't say one word to him. I'm not going to lie. I didn't meet Jeff Goldblum. I saw Jeff Goldblum. Whenever I go to visit, my youngest son is an animator in Los Angeles. In fact, he does the opening credits on the show and a lot of the stuff. Anyway, I always wait till I see my first famous person. It's like every time I go, I see at least one famous person. So this was Jeff. He's like, I don't know, 6'7", maybe 6'8". He's really tall. Like he could have played basketball. He's tall.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I didn't know that. I had no idea.
He looks exactly. He wears the same glasses even. At least he did in that diner. I don't know why. Oh, I brought this up because there was the drummer to some rock group that I didn't know who it was, and I realized how unplugged I am. Anyway, why did I even share that story?
But to answer your question, though,
Yes.
we were always cooking something in the house.
Okay.
Like,
Now, there was one other smell that I always smelled. Can you guess what that other smell always smelled like?
I don't want to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Was it feet or something like that?
It was diaper pails, urine.
Oh.
Back in the day, they didn't have – whoever invented disposable diapers deserves the Nobel Peace Prize as far as I'm concerned. And whoever invented the diaper genie deserves another Nobel Peace Prize. Because there's nothing greater than taking that little piece of paper, shoving it in that plastic tube, twisting it and forgetting it's there, and pulling it out like a line of sausages. I'm sure you've seen that a million times.
Yes.
We didn't have any of that shit in those days. We had cloth diapers and diaper services. And so they had pails with those little, well, you're a girl. You probably have, in urinals, I don't know if you had 5, how many brothers?
5.
5, okay. Maybe you have. Have you ever seen the cakes they put in urinals in men's rooms to keep them from smelling? Okay, that's what, in the top of the diaper pail, they would put one of those cakes to try to keep the smell down, but it really didn't because all that ammonia was in there. And you would rinse it out in the toilet, literally. You dip it and you get the poop and everything off of it. I know I'm oversharing. Then you'd put it in the diaper pail, and this is what the houses smelled like with all. When you have 16,000 children, and these women were to have 14 children, you have to be having a baby a year, right? So you've got like between toddler and infant, not house trained yet, you got at least 3 children all the time, pooping and peeing, and this is all I smelled. I just remember that from goulash and diapers.
My mom had 4 in diapers at the same time once, but that's as bad as it got.
Did you all have to? I'm sure you all had to pitch in and like do your part.
Yeah. It got to the point where so I'm the third eldest, and it got to the point where we were just raising our younger siblings, like just doing it all.
When did weed come into your life? Let's turn to the subject of this. You were 17.
Yes.
Okay. How were you introduced to weed?
So I graduated high school really, really early.
How old were you?
I was 15.
Ooh, you were young. I thought at 16 I was pretty cool, but 50, you were a smart girl.
It was a couple days before my 15th birthday. I convinced my mom to let me graduate early so I could go to college with my older sister.
Back in New Hampshire.
Yes.
Got it.
So then I went to college, and that's how it got introduced to me. And back east, weed was not at all what it is to this day. Like it was like. It just didn't taste good.
It was shit weed.
It was bad, yeah.
That's because, sadly, you weren't in Miami where I was.
No, I was in New Hampshire.
I know. See, down in Miami, we were getting Jamaican weed, and it was pretty fucking good, even as a kid. Okay, because I went back to live in Miami later. I didn't get along with my stepfather either or whatever. I don't know what your story is. You don't have to tell me. But I didn't get along with mine, so I went to live with my aunt and uncle in Florida, and that's when I found weed, and it was good.
I still don't get along with my stepdad, but I don't know.
I share your pain.
Introduced me to it, and I just...
So, how many kids in your family?
10.
All stoners?
No.
Are you an open stoner? Do they all know you smoke?
Yes, they do.
Do your mom and dad know you smoke?
They do, yeah.
they still married?
So my biological father is long gone.
Oh, that's right. You're just the stepfather. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You don't have to apologize.
Yeah.
My biological father's a stoner. I have taken many a dab with my dad.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that dab shit for a minute.
Okay.
Can we talk about that dab shit for a minute?
Of course.
I think I'm too big a lightweight for dab. You know, I've been smoking weed since I was 14 years old. 14 years old.
Okay.
I was first introduced to it by my friend Bruce Fisher, who is either my age or dead now. I don't know which. I haven't seen him in years. But Bruce was just a major league stoner. We would go to the beach and smoke weed, and you know, it felt so dangerous in those days, right? You know, smoking weed. And, you know, I thought I thought I was going to get arrested, but then I thought, oh, fuck it. And then, you know, it was just fun. Then we started doing LSD, and then it was, you know, you ever do anything besides weed?
Yes.
Like mushrooms, right?
I've done mushrooms. I don't enjoy them.
You don't? Why not?
They just force you to be like really, really high, like in your face high.
Can I tell you a great mushroom story?
Sure.
This is when you do mushrooms the right way. See, mushrooms to me, and all psychedelics, I want to preface this. This is probably going to go in the too high for YouTube, isn't it? I can just...
We got to shift gears there.
Okay. I'm shifting gears. I'm just going right to it. You can put it wherever it belongs. Okay, so here we go. To do mushrooms the right way, you got to kind of treat it like a little vacation, I think. Okay, so when I do mushrooms, I set it up that I'm in a safe place, usually with somebody else, because I can wander off on mushrooms. I never know where I'm going. And you know, in like either in a nice outdoor setting or maybe a quiet room with music playing, something to set me up for the vacation of the trip I'm about to take. And I've never had a bad trip, but I've had some weird trips. One in particular, I was in Los Angeles visiting my son. And by the way, we're open about, you know, he does MDMA in various forms and things like that, which, by the way, I don't really get that. I've done it, but it doesn't really do it for me. But anyway, maybe I just haven't done it right. But so I decided, I did something I never do. I tripped alone. Okay? I had a room, there's a hotel on the beach in Santa Monica called Shutters. It's really nice. They have big bathtubs in the room, and you have different mood lighting. I mean, this is like an expensive hotel, but it's really, really nice, and it's right on the beach with a view, and it was a beautiful day, and I opened up the doors, and in Southern California, it's always 68 to 72 degrees, so you don't need any air conditioning, and the breeze was coming in, and it was a beautiful, so I decided I would trip, because I had hours to kill, right? So I do the mushrooms, I lay back on the bed, I got music playing, everything's great, it's beautiful, the sound of the, you know, that little wave sound going in the background. Next thing I know, I'm in the front of the hotel, I'm coming down, you know those bronze sculptures you see in front of hotels that look so real okay, I'm literally sitting on a bench talking to a bronze, I'm carrying on an entire conversation and during my trip it was alive and talking back. I'm telling you right now, I thought until I started coming down that I was talking to a person, but it turned out to be a bronze statue, and I had drawn a crowd.
Oh, of course.
It's why I love mushrooms.
That's awesome.
It was really a good trip.
That is a good trip.
But, you know, I've heard of, anyway, I'm not, by the way, advocating that you have to go do mushrooms. So what else have you done besides LSD?
I've done LSD. I've tried Molly. And then, unfortunately, someone laced my blunt once.
With?
PCP.
Oh, Jesus, I've never done that. What's that? What was that like?
I don't remember. I blacked out, but I woke up half undressed in a neighborhood I don't know, in an alleyway. So I'm like, I would not recommend PCP to anybody. And I definitely don't smoke blunts from anybody I don't know anymore. Like, I was at a party with a couple friends, and it was someone I didn't know that was passing around blunts.
And they probably either thought it was funny, or they were trying to, God forbid, date rape you?
Or maybe they thought I knew it was laced, because they didn't seem like the type of person that would, you know, do that.
You know, let me tell you something I've learned.
Okay.
Psychopaths look like everybody else.
True.
You cannot eyeball somebody and figure out who's the psychopath. You just can't. Sometimes they're the nicest looking people. You know, do you remember that movie? Are you old enough to, or have you ever, you're not old enough, but have you ever watched the original Addams Family movie?
Yes.
So you remember when Wednesday comes up to the lady at the Halloween thing, and she says, "What are you going as?" And little Wednesday, who's not in a costume, says, "A serial killer." And the lady says, "Where's your costume?" And she said, "They look like everyone else."
Mm-hmm. That was scary because it's super true.
It's super true. Here's the good news. We scare ourselves way too much. You know, when I was a kid, when I was a boy, we used to walk 10 miles in the snow. No, we didn't. But when I was a kid, that's all bullshit. But when when old people talk like that, they're just so full of shit. Old people like to pretend that they're smart, but let me tell you a little secret about getting older. If you are a young moron, you become an old moron. You don't get wiser.
No.
Okay, you become more of whatever you were.
The same way when they win the lottery.
Oh,
if you're a dick, you're super dick.
Super dick. People become more. Would you agree with this, Tech Mastery? We become more of what we are.
Absolutely.
I've always been goofy. I've just gotten goofier.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the friendly ones get friendlier.
But they don't get smarter, right?
Right.
Dumb is dumb. So anyway, where were we going with this anyway? I don't know.
That was a good statement, but I don't know.
I don't know where I was going with it either. Oh, about safety and psychopaths. That's where I was going. To make a long story short, how old were you? Let me ask you. Of course, you were raised in a Catholic. This is not going to work with you, I don't think, but I'll try it anyway. Because when you're growing up with that many kids, you had to be real independent. There's no way your parents could have kept track of this many kids, like a helicopter.
I was like the most independent of all my siblings too.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you this because I already know the answer. You were independent to begin with, but most kids now aren't allowed to go anywhere by themselves until they're like teenagers. Mm-hmm. Without supervision. When I was a kid, we used to go. So I lived in Mount Lebanon, which is a suburb of Pittsburgh, and at 10 years old, and there were streetcars. Streetcars are the old-fashioned light rail. Okay, I don't even know if they're still there anymore. They were Pittsburgh's version of the San Francisco cable cars, but they looked more like buses, and they ran all over the city. Okay, and Pittsburgh's real hilly, and there are tunnels everywhere and bridges, and there are 3 rivers: the Allegheny River, the Monongahela River, and they form the Ohio River. Anyway, you don't have to remember any of that shit. But we used to come from the suburbs, myself and my best friend Jeff from across the street, by ourselves, would walk a mile by ourselves at 10 years old from our house. The streetcar stopped at a neighboring township called Dormont. They didn't go all the way out to Mount Lebanon, so we had to walk to the border of Dormont and Mount Lebanon, grab the streetcar. We would ride it downtown by ourselves. This is in 1967, the height of Vietnam protests and race riots and all kinds of things that you think it's bad today. It was just as bad then, even maybe worse. Okay, and in fact, it was in many ways worse. And we would get off and we'd hang around downtown and eat street food and talk to the bums and go into stores and play around all day. And the only thing we had to call home with was a dime because there was no cell phones. We would use a payphone, and they cost 10 cents in those days. And if we were going to be late for dinner or something, we would call our parents from downtown and say we're going to be late. That's it. And then we would get back on the streetcar and ride it back out and get home when it got dark. And no one worried about being snatched.
That was kind of how it was when I was a kid. The rule was you had to be home before the sun went down. And then my mom didn't really care or ask us where we were or what we were doing.
People are worried about things happening that just don't happen. It's just too much media. When I was a kid, there were 4 TV stations, the 3 networks and 1 independent. Oh, plus PBS, 5. But no one watched PBS except for Sesame Street, right? So, I'm sure someone did, but not in my family. So TV wasn't a big thing, and there was no internet and no social media and nothing. So you kind of had to entertain yourself, and I think it was better in a lot of ways because, I don't know, it's like I saw an article this morning that Fast and Furious 9 is coming out. Like, how many times can you do a fucking chase movie? I attribute it to a lack of imagination by a generation that doesn't read. Seriously, they keep doing the same movie over and over again. I'm sure it'll be well done. I'm sure it'll be a great chase movie, but it's going to be a chase movie.
Yeah.
And there are going to be things that happen during that movie that can't possibly happen because they defy gravity and logic. Okay, and it's entertaining. I'm not knocking you. That's fine. Once was great. Twice was enough. By the time you get to the 9th one, it's like, what the fuck? Can you think of nothing else to do a movie about?
No,
they're bringing back Sex in the City.
Oh, I didn't know that.
These women are 110 years old at this point.
Yeah, they're getting up there.
I know they're not really 110, by the way. They're my age. I am not sexy, and these women, it's over now. It's time to hand this off to the next generation of Sex in the City. It's like enough.
I think any generation can be sexy. I fully disagree with that.
Are you going with the ages and attitude crap?
No.
Because I'm going to tell you with my titanium shoulder, no, it's not.
No. No, I was just saying, I know somebody he's in his 60s, but he looks like he's in his 40s. So, I just think, it's maybe sexy is individual.
Can I give you a little fatherly advice on this?
Sure.
Men who date much younger women are emotionally immature. I'm sorry. It's just...
Oh, yeah, I agree with you.
So, like, don't ever get involved with an old guy like that, please.
I just said he was a friend.
Okay, good. You don't personally find him attractive. That much older, do you?
No, I actually like girls, so.
Oh, cool.
That helps you.
Well, now I'm excited. Not excited like, men love, even homophobes love lesbians, male homophobes. You know that, right? Because it just seems so sexy to us. It's funny. I have no issue with homosexuality. I could care less. But I don't male homosexuality to me is so violent that I don't understand it. But I get lesbianism.
Okay, yeah.
Because it seems so much more gentle and pleasant. I don't get graphic with me. This is not a sex show. But I mean, but you know what I mean?
Yes, I actually do. I do know what you mean because I know a lot of gay guys and they have to get drunk, and it's just. I'm
going to cite my source. This was a Masters and Johnson study. I don't know if it was true, but this was a study that they did on the average number of sexual partners people have during their lifetime based on their sexual preferences.
Okay.
So the average heterosexual male, according to this, I'm not saying any of this is true. And you can fact check me and find other studies that are going to be different and better. Okay. But this is just what they said. Tell me if this rings true to you. The average male heterosexual will have about a dozen sexual partners in his life. Okay. Why
does that seem low?
Because TV makes it look like everyone's fucking everybody else when it's really not true.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I think that accounts for a lot of this is just my opinion, not a fact. I think a lot of people stay in shitty relationships because they're afraid they're never going to get laid again. They're afraid that this is my last chance. I'm not sure if that's true in the gay community. You can speak to that. But among men to women, I know a lot of men who stay with women, prefacing I am no misogynist, but women who are just batshit crazy and they ought to know better and they ought to get the hell out of there, but they stick with it and they go to counseling and they work. If you have to go to counseling before you get married, you're fucked. I'm just telling you that right now. Okay? After you're married, you got to work on your relationship. I get it. But if you're in some crazy ass relationship and you're not married, why?
Right.
And the answer is, I think, just an opinion, based on nothing and no qualifications. I have a degree that has nothing to do with this, okay, whatsoever. But I just think it's because they're afraid they're never going to have another mate. It's like an insecurity.
Is that what was in the study?
No, the study was male had a dozen. That's just me bullshitting. Oh, the average woman, by the way, is supposed to have 7, heterosexual. Okay, but the average gay man, average gay woman.
Who did this study?
Masters and Johnson. So years and years and years ago, there was a company that started with Dr. Masters and Dr. Johnson. It was husband and wife. Okay. But she kept her name, Dr. Masters, and they did sex studies, and they'd bring in people, and they'd observe. There's actually movies about this. I forget the name of the movie. They did a really creepy movie about it. It was creepy.
That sounds creepy a little bit.
It was creepy. It was way creepy. But anyway, they said the average homosexual man had like 300 sexual partners. Now and they said the average gay woman had very few. In fact,
okay, I agree with that one.
Well, there's a joke that I've heard. Tell me if this is true, and I'm going to tell you where I heard it. Rosie O'Donnell told it. Okay, this is the joke. She said, I forget what television show she was on. She said, you know what a lesbian brings on the second date?
I know.
A U-Haul, right? I mean, right. You've heard it. And I heard it from Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Is it true?
I'd have to say that I've talked a lot more about marriage or just like a life partner with women more than with men.
So here's what Master and Johnson said about that, okay? And you can tell me if you think this is bullshit. Testosterone which dominates males that are younger in particular, are constantly telling you to screw. But because heterosexual men have to have sex with heterosexual women, their estrogen sets the sexual tone of the relationship. And I've found that to be true. In a traditional relationship, it's the woman, assuming the man's not a pig and violent or any of that kind of shit. I'm assuming that the vast majority of men and women are whatever normal means, somewhere in the range of whatever normal means to you, right?
Right.
But not beating women and not forcing them to have sex. The woman sets the tone, absolutely. Every relationship I've ever been in, it's the woman that decides when we're going to. I mean, I always wanted to have sex. A guy goes out on a date, he wants to have sex. He wouldn't ask the girl out if he didn't want to have sex. That's really, if he didn't want to have sex, he would be going out with one of his guy friends.
Right.
Right? Okay. But he'll wait months if necessary if he really likes the woman. Years even. I mean, and there are still people that go all the way to marriage and don't have sex. There's still people doing it. I don't make judgments. Whatever floats your boat,
Right.
Whatever floats your boat. But again, it's women, so there's not that many sexual partners because women aren't generally that easy. Estrogen, unless they're like whacked out, estrogen dominates, and it's more about what you're talking about. So when you get two lesbians together, and it's all estrogen, it's all about relationship.
Yeah.
We're men.
It has a tendency to get that way.
And that explains the U-Haul?
That explains the U-Haul.
It's kind of like you're moving in already. Like it's like the relationship is just too fast. Kind of.
Can I just share something with you that just popped into my head? I'm not changing the subject. It has to do with lesbian. So my ex-wife, Terry, who's still a dear friend, okay, I want to preface this. We're great friends. Her background is physical therapy. Her degree is in sports medicine. And in that world, in that physical therapy world, there are a lot of lesbians. Mm-hmm. So in the athletics, around athletics and things, sports and things like that. So a lot of her girlfriends are gay. So she had this girlfriend, Emily, who was, again, if this is in the least bit derogatory, slap me down. She was what I would call a lipstick lesbian. I would call you a lipstick lesbian. When I say that, a very attractive lesbian woman, not a bully dyke one. You know what I mean? Not like, but pretty. I would never be able to like eyeball you. But then, the standard lesbian haircut, the mullet thing, the whole, right? But that wasn't Emily. And her girlfriend was gorgeous too. I cannot. We had a beach house in Mexico. I cannot tell you how many hours I spent with dark glasses on watching them kiss on chaise lounges. It so turned me on. It so helped our married sex life. You have no idea. So we would be out we had this huge patio overlooking. Now my ex-wife has it. The house still exists, but the joke I tell is I marry housekeepers. We get divorced, they keep the house. So this house has a 1,500 square foot balcony overlooking the Sea of Cortez. And Emily and her girlfriend would be out on there making out on a chaise lounge. And I'd be over there pretending that I was asleep, but I was in really dark glasses. And it was really erotic. I have to be honest.
I bet they knew that you weren't asleep.
Well, probably. But if everyone plays along, who the hell cares?
They knew, Uncle Herb, what you were looking at.
Well, I know it's a little... I didn't tell them to. I wasn't looking for trouble. But, if it's there, it's like when you're a heterosexual man and you're in a committed relationship, you must become good at the surreptitious glance. You have to. It's something I even taught my sons, how to look at another woman without looking at her so as not to destroy your relationship with the woman you're with. Uh-huh. How to make that fast look without anyone noticing it happened and don't stare. You got to, some men, if you're...
Think they're better at it than others?
Some men do this,
Yes, I do.
It's like, do they think no one's paying attention? Don't stare.
I think that happens in all gender types.
I was going to say, women can be just as bad.
Do you ever stare like...
No, I don't. I don't think I do. Maybe when I'm really high. Maybe. I don't think I've ever stared at someone like that. Staring at someone makes me uncomfortable, though, Like, I don't like getting caught staring at someone, so I'm probably not going to do that.
The only time I've ever intentionally stared at somebody is when I wanted to get caught because that's how I broke the glass to go over and talk to her.
That's how you flirt.
That's how I flirt. I'll look at and when she looks at me, I won't look away, and then I'll smile.
Exactly.
And then you stand up and you walk across the room because, guys, she doesn't have an Uzi in her purse. She's not going to kill you. Ask. The worst thing that happens is she says no. Oh, my God, she said no. I've never but anyway.
It actually happens so rare now that I'm not going to speak for all women, but I personally, it doesn't happen to me very often. That when it does happen to me, it's actually nice.
Let me ask you a question. Do you e-date?
No.
Okay.
What is that? Like online dating?
Yeah, Match, all that shit.
Oh, no. I had some really bad encounters with Tinder, and
It's the worst, right?
It's the worst.
Okay, I never tried Tinder, but I briefly tried. What's the one I briefly tried? Start with an H. Hinge.
Oh, that one's new. I haven't even tried it.
Well, they advertise that it's not about hook. Yes, it is. It's all even women. I went on one date. I went on actually 3 dates with the same woman. She was a lovely person, but it turns out that she was much more sexually aggressive than I was prepared to be. I know that sounds weird. I didn't know it. As you get older, as a man, you begin to realize that the minute you get intimate with a woman, you're committed. This is a life lesson, just from a male point of view. In other words,
U-Haul part 2.
What's that?
It's the U-Haul part 2.
U-Haul part 2.
Yeah.
Don't have sex with a woman unless you really, truly like her and you think there's a chance for unless you're, a pig, and then do what you want. But, maybe it's just my generation then. See, now I'm thinking, Because my sons tell me, and my daughters too tell me that it's all they're all hooking. Not them, but the whole world's about hookups. That's all this is, hooking up. How do you know if you like somebody if all you're doing is screwing them?
I was gonna say I think my generation it's more we run into more of like it's hard for us to find someone that wants to be in a relationship. Like everybody just wants to hook up with everybody.
And you're Gen Z, right?
Well, I'm 25.
So does that make you Gen Z?
No, I'm a millennial.
You're a millennial still. What year were you born?
1996.
Yeah, you're a millennial. My youngest daughter, Chloe's 94. She's 26. So you must be been born, early, late in the year? I can't think.
I was born in June.
June, okay. So anyway, so you're a millennial. I find that the Gen Zs in particular, they're not getting married, which is really making them very narcissistic. And I talked about this in another webcast, so I'm not going to dwell on it much, but just briefly, by committing yourself in a relationship is how you learn not to think about yourself all the time. So, you get out of college or high school, whatever you're going to, and you marry your sweetheart, you start having children, you get a house. Again, it's not straight or gay thing, whatever. But you buy the house, you get the mortgage, you have the responsibilities. And the minute the children come into the picture, you start to realize it's not all about you. And it's really a very healthy lesson. And if you don't do it, like the Gen Zs aren't, and they're living at home till they're after 30 in a lot of cases, and their mothers are washing their underwear, how do you learn to be a fully formed person?
You don't. And then you carry that with you your whole life. Because I know a lot of people that
or what?
They just haven't fully grown up yet. Like they don't even really know how to take care of themselves without somebody else helping them.
Now, are these people that you know your own age, younger or older?
My own age and younger.
And they're really just is the stereotype? I mean, I've been called boomer so many times. Boomer. I'll say something that's obvious. Why do people resent the? Let me ask you a question.
I don't know. Millennials have a bad rep. I don't know.
My kids all listening. Everywhere you're about to go, I've already been. You understand that, right? Everywhere you're about to go, I and my generation has already been.
But your generation doesn't take into consideration that the world is completely different.
And this is interesting. It is and it isn't. Okay? You're right. In many ways, technology in particular, it's a completely different world, which has changed the culture, right? I mean, social media has radically changed the culture.
It's sad.
But human nature's still the same.
Yeah.
So, I can see trouble coming a mile away. Mm-hmm. And that comes from experience. That's how I got all the gray hair. Mm-hmm. Okay, why would you want to repeat the same? Forget the technology. Let's leave the whole technological social media world to your generation. You're right. I'm comfortable with it for a boomer.
I'm not even comfortable with it.
In what sense?
That everything is just so focused on technology. Like, for instance, TikTok. Like everybody's on TikTok. Everybody's doing TikTok. I don't get that. Like I grew up without technology. I didn't grow up with internet. I was a kid. I played outside. My younger siblings aren't playing outside. Like they're growing up with video games and internet. And I just think it makes you a different person. And so when you go through the same history as baby boomers and whatnot, it's a different world, but you're also very different. Like you weren't raised the same. And so you're not prepared at all for anything that the world gives you.
No, I raised my kids to be independent. Like, you're 18, time to go. Love you to death, want you here all the time to visit me, grow up.
I kind of feel like they're trying to get rid of that. Like they're trying to get rid of independence and making your kids grow up and go on. Because
that's incredible.
My twin brother still lives at home.
Oh, so he's 25.
Yeah.
How do your parents deal with that one?
Well, he just won't go. Like they try to push him out the door and he just won't do it. Like I don't know how they don't.
I would never tell your parents what to do, but I'd cut him off financially and then he's going to have to.
Well, he has a job and he actually is an author, so he does really well. He's just scared of the world. He's scared of being out on his own. So he's scared of failure. And so
is he agoraphobic? Is it enough that he needs to see somebody? He's afraid of being outside?
I have no idea.
Is he out and about or is he at home all the time?
He's out and about. He runs a gym.
Okay. Oh, he's not agoraphobic then. Okay.
But he just doesn't want to, be on his own, pay his own bills, get his own house, be responsible enough to where if it doesn't work out, it's all on him. Your parents should change
the locks. I say this with love in my heart. I'm a big believer in tough love. I'd change the locks. I'm being honest with you.
Well, my mom's still raising kids. She has 4 kids in the house still.
I'd give them the new keys, but the older brother, out you go.
That's how I feel like Yeah.
I know that's terrible for me to say that.
I don't think that's terrible. I don't.
Honestly, if that was my kid at 25 years old, he would come home one day to find. Okay, so here's a great story. This is just how tough we were in my family. So my ex-wife Terry, my eldest son John, was a slob. He's not now. By the way, he's now 40 years old and the exact opposite. I mean, if you go into his home now, it's immaculate. But when he was a kid, a complete slob. You'd go into his room, it was like a bomb was detonated. And it would drive Terry crazy. And she would threaten him. And she'd tell him, if you don't clean that room, I'm going to clean it for you, and you're not going to like it. And he would ignore. And one day I came home, and we lived in those days. I had a full acre lot, and it was all natural desert mostly. Okay, because I can't see planting grass in the desert. I just don't get it. I mean, I loved going to the park and playing with it, but I don't want to deal with it. So it was all, cacti and ocotillo and, and there was a circular drive. It was pretty, but there was a lot of, I come home one day and it looked like a farmer's field with a bunch of cactus scarecrows. All of his clothes she had thrown all over the cacti. She'd gone in his room and taken all of his clothes and every shirt, every piece of underwear, every sock was ruined because it was full of cactus spikes. It was laying on the jumping cholla. It was laying on the ocotillo. It was laying on the saguaros. It was everywhere.
Oh, my God.
It's when John learned, don't fuck with Terry.
No.
Okay? Don't fuck with Terry. Okay? I kind of believe in that because you know what? He had to go to work. He had to buy his own new clothes, and he had to be independent. And,
at that point,
today
yeah.
he's super clean. Super clean. Kick their asses out. Okay, I'm not telling your parent what to do. I'm sure your brother's a great guy. He's your twin?
I'm like the opposite of my brother. I moved out at 17, and I haven't been back.
Well, you've been back to visit.
Well, yeah, but I've been on my own since. Like, I have my own apartment, and it's been that way since I was 17. Well, I used to have, when I was 17, I shared with 6 other girls. Never lived with that many women.
Terry,
if you can help it.
When I was dating Terry, she lived with 3 in a 2-bedroom apartment. So there was 2 girls to a room. I used to think girls were always neat and clean, but these were all jock chicks, and it was a shit show.
Women aren't clean.
God, no. That apartment looked like someone detonated. I don't know how Terry tolerated it.
See, I prefer living with men because they're cleaner, except the bathroom. Men don't know how to keep a bathroom clean, but...
I'd like to point out that my bathroom...
younger men.
Okay, I'd like to point out that I do scrub my toilet and wipe it down regularly.
Good.
Because that grosses me out. There is nothing grosser than a gross toilet.
It's the shower I'm talking about.
Oh, the shower with I hate that. With the ring and the rime and all that crap.
It's always the walls. Like, I don't know why guys don't pay attention to their showers. It's like, you're getting clean in there. Your shower should be clean. Like,
I have that stuff you spray after the shower to keep the walls down. And,
yeah.
and then once a week I give it the old... Is that like over the top?
No.
But after the shower, I just, give it that after shower spritz so it doesn't build up. And then
Especially with Arizona, like the hard water, you can't have anything. But no. I used to live with 6 women when I first moved out at 17. My mom was like, oh, you can go to college with your sister.
Were they all stoners?
That's how I got introduced to smoking weed was my roommates. They were all, well, except one. We had to hide it from her, but all of us.
You had to hide it from her. Why?
She was kind of like, so it was a house that was a part of the college, and so she would go tell the RA that we were all smoking weed on college property. So we just had to kind of make sure that she got whatever she
was
wanted.
a rat.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you would have had, if she was a guy and she did that.
We ended up kicking her out,
there would have been a price to pay for that beyond just kicking her out.
Well, she wasn't neat. Like, she was a very unclean person. Like, she never did her dishes.
A rat has to be, I wouldn't say exterminated, but I would have gotten rid of her.
Did you ever replace her with someone else?
Yeah. Get a new roommate.
We did. We removed her out, kicked her out, and then we didn't replace her. It just ended up being 5 of us because I went to college for 3 years.
So here in the Phoenix weed community, let's turn because my weed community is an older weed community, and you're in the younger weed community. How is the weed community here in our town for you young folk, or non-existent?
It's probably like private. I don't really know. Like, I don't think I'm in it.
You don't party? You don't go to parties?
No, I have like a couple stoner friends, and we'll get together and hang out. But I kind of think that's just like we use it more to socialize, not to party. Is
that medical or recreational?
Are you medical or recreational?
I'm medical, but A lot
and
of
the medical
people are
recreational thing is every
recreational.
stoner knows is bullshit, right? I mean, when you went in to get your medical, did your doctor examine you? He sure shit didn't examine me.
Mine did.
He actually examined you?
Well, I actually have a condition that
Okay,
I'm pretty sure that if I didn't smoke weed, I would just go crazy.
Okay, you don't have to share that. But, I just walked in. He said, anything bothering you? I said, I got arthritis in my
They'll
neck.
make it up for you. You pay them enough, the doctors, that you like. If you give them like $50, they'll be like, I don't really have a reason to be getting this medical card.
That's the
but
kind of medical degree you get at the University of Grenada or wherever, but whatever. Well, I thought
do they have a degree, or are they real doctors?
they're real doctors.
Okay.
I have a very dear friend who actually couldn't get into U.S. medical school, so he had to learn Flemish and went to school in Belgium. It's a true story. He went to medical school in Belgium, learned Flemish, which is like Dutch, became fluent, and then moved back to the States, took the whatever exams there are, and then just practiced, and now he's retired. But, yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't know about the University of Grenada. There is a medical school in Grenada. I only know this because Ronald Reagan invaded the island back in the day, and there was it was to save the medical students in Grenada. I swear to God that's true.
I believe you.
We literally invaded an island to save medical students I don't know. I don't try to figure this shit out. They wake up one day and they decide, let's invade Grenada. Why? I don't know.
No idea.
Evidently, there were supposed to be Cubans in Grenada, to which I would ask as a stoner, so?
Okay, so what I've noticed going to the dispensaries is that it's the older generation buying the weed.
That's because the younger one isn't dumb enough to spend see.
Like you guys, I think your generation, I think there's more stoners.
No, we are dumb. You are smart. Let me explain that dichotomy. I've noticed it too, and here's my theory. You can tell me if it's bullshit.
Okay.
Marijuana is legal, but it's way overregulated still. How much you can have, where you can buy it, medical or non-medical. If you're recreational, you pay like 30% more than if you're medical and all that shit. They're just trying to regulate the shit. They're still arresting people for transporting enormous amounts of weed when weed is weed, right? I mean, you can't overdose weed. You can't die from weed. It's just weed.
Right.
Okay? So the point is, it's still much cheaper to buy from the same person you've been dealing with for years. So, like for years and years and years, I had a guy who was my friend. He worked at Trader Joe's. I won't use his name. He didn't give me, I'm not going to rat him out after I just made a speech about rats, right? But I would buy and there's a lot of Trader Joe's. Good luck trying to figure out which one he works in, okay? But I would, by the way, if you have never shopped in a Trader Joe's, if you live in a state without a Trader Joe's, I feel sorry for you.
Right.
Isn't that it is for me as a stoner, the place to shop.
Yeah, I'll tell people where I got my special snacks. Trader Joe's.
I'm just going to change the subject. What's your special snack?
I like mochi.
You like those things?
Yeah.
The little chewy. You buy the ice cream mochi ones with the ice cream inside and the chewy mochi on the outside? Have you ever been to Pink Yogurt in California? Have you gone to Pink Yogurt?
No.
Okay. If you get to California, at least in Los Angeles and San Diego, I don't know if it's all over the whole state, but my oldest son lives in North County, San Diego. My youngest son lives in L.A. Uh-huh. There's this chain called Pink. I think it's Pink or Pinky. It's Pink. They have mochi. They make mochi ice cream. And then you put the little chewy mochi balls on it. It is so fucking good.
See, that's another thing, is I've been told it's called mochi, and then everyone calls it mochi.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, which
I don't know
one
what
is it? But a lot of people don't like it. Like every time I'm like, oh, you got to try it. Like a lot of my friends are like that.
I love little mochi balls with the ice cream inside. You're talking
the little dough balls.
They come in the little, right. Yeah, I love those things.
Yeah, and Trader Joe's has a bunch of flavors. Yeah.
I'm not big on the matcha too much. It's a little bitter for me. But I do like the other flavors.
Green tea is the one I like.
Yeah, guess what this is?
Green tea.
Green tea.
There you go.
I drink. Yeah. I would have gotten you one, but I had no idea. Next time I'll make sure you have your green tea. But I didn't know if you like green tea. What are your other Trader Joe's favorite stoner snacks?
Bacon jerky.
Bacon jerky, yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm addicted to?
What?
The peanut butter pretzels.
Oh God, I was going to say that one if you asked for a third
Fucking
one.
peanut butter pretzels.
Yes.
Have you tried those, Techmaster E?
Hell to the no.
What?
You got to bring me one. No, wait.
One.
You said
it's
butter?
a bag of nuggets. It's little pretzels filled with really good peanut butter, creamy peanut butter. It's not like, you know how Reese's peanut butter cups they taste good, but it's a real salty, weird consistency peanut butter.
Yeah.
Okay, it works in a Reese's cup if you're stoned enough, but it's not. You wouldn't call it. You wouldn't like. as a hack, you wouldn't carve the chocolate up to make a peanut butter sandwich out of Reese's peanut butter.
Nope.
It sucks.
They actually sell
It sucks.
jars
I've
of
tried
that.
it. It sucks.
I know.
I'm a Jif guy. Skippy if I have to. Peter Pan if it comes to the worst. Keep that natural shit. And anytime you have to stir peanut butter, fuck that.
I have a funny story about
Go
Skippy
ahead.
peanut butter.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So in college, I had a friend named Skippy, and it was a nickname that he got because of Skippy peanut butter. Now, if you know anything about back east, you get ticks a lot. So,
yeah.
if you go hiking
Yeah.
or if you go anywhere where
Yeah,
there's
Lyme's disease, all that shit. Yeah, I get it.
trees or
They're everywhere.
grass,
Your dogs get covered with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why his name is Skippy, or the reason why his nickname is Skippy, is because he got a tick, but he got it between his legs. Like he got
On his cojones?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And he didn't know how to get rid of. He didn't know how to get rid of it, and so I was like, "Oh well, if you just put some peanut butter on it, it'll like attach from you, and you can just kill it because it can't breathe through the peanut butter."
True.
And we had some Skippy peanut butter, and he didn't want to do it, so he was like, "Can you do it?" So I did it, and he now has the nickname Skippy, and everybody called him that too.
Good to know.
Years later, and it's still his nickname.
If you ever have to remove a tick from another man's balls, Dawn dishwashing liquid works faster and better.
It does. I didn't know that. I just knew about the peanut butter.
I just want you. It's. I only know this because I'm a dog guy, and when your dog gets ticks,
Yeah.
what you don't want to do is pull off a tick with a tweezer or anything because
No.
you're leaving. You can't help it. But if you put on Dawn dish, it has to be Dawn. There's something in it. I've literally asked the vet about this. There's something about Dawn that you put it on, and in about 3 seconds, the tick just lets go.
3 seconds. I like
It's
that.
really fast. You just rub it all over the tick, and it starts doing this little ticky thing, and then it just
Yeah,
falls
because
off.
sometimes the peanut butter doesn't work. So
And it's
a mess.
okay. I really do have a story about this, but I'm not going there. It is even too high for. It is just inappropriate for me to be discussing this story with a young woman. Never mind. All right. That was,
I just had to tell my Skippy story. Sorry.
your Skippy story is not nearly as, and never mind.
But you're still friends with Skippy, right?
Yes,
After
I
all
still
that.
talk to Skippy. Yeah.
I thought, I had this vision of Skippy skipping around with the,
Skippy is a massive stoner. Skippy is a massive stoner. Yeah. He introduced me to dabs. Actually.
let's talk about dabs. We were on dabs before.
I love dabs. I don't know why.
You're going to have to educate me because I must have fucked it up. So, shatter, dab, whatever, wax. So it wrecked me. I mean, I took it. This is true. I mean, for some reason I've never done it. It just hasn't ever gotten there, and it fucking wrecked me. Does it wreck you or no?
It used to.
Oh God, I just have to. I've been smoking for 40 years, 50 years maybe, and 50 years now, 14 to 64, 50 years,
Nice.
and I can't handle that. It's just, but maybe you can train me.
So I gave my dad for the first time a dab, and he's this stoner for about the same amount of time. Actually, he's been smoking since he was like 8, so I have no idea how many years. Like too many years, probably.
Too many years, yeah.
But yeah, I gave him a dab for the first time, and I was really surprised he had never even heard of it. Like,
Oh no,
because he was like, he's a massive stoner, like always has been my whole childhood.
yeah. Well, it's
like-
not. We didn't grow up with it. It just wasn't something that existed.
right, and they kill him like to this day. Like,
Yeah,
he
it's
can't.
it's brutal. It's brutal.
It's hilarious.
Okay, we're gonna have to. We have obviously Bethany, not Brittany. Bethany. I remembered her name now. I'm feeling so proud. I remembered her name. Why? At my age, I'm happy if I remember what I had for breakfast.
It's not Britney, bitch.
It's not Brittany, bitch. What is it about girls who are named Brittany, Heather, Tiffany?
Because it's from a song. Britney did that. Britney Spears.
Oh, did she really?
Yeah, she was like, it was like at a concert, and she like somebody was screaming in the audience. They were like, "Who is it?" She was like, "It's Britney, bitch."
Oh God.
And so I don't know. It just became a thing, and now it's a thing. I don't know.
It's Brittany, bitch. There's something that's never come out of my lips in public ever. I'm not woke, but I'm not stupid either. You have to. There's a time and a place. That's a good life lesson. Anyway, thanks very much for joining us. Had a wonderful time, and as always, this is Uncle Herb. Until next time, peace out.
You're listening to The Silver Stoner Show.